It's time for the next build along. What's going on, everyone? Today I'm here to discuss the next build along, which I am launching tomorrow, October 6th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Now, if you're not familiar with what my build alongs are or what I've done with them in the past, I'm going to go over all of that today and explain what it is I'm building exactly, what you would need to dive into it, how we're actually going to accomplish the whole project, and the schedule and all of the other details about this type of project. If you just like these projects and you want to follow along more, I'll put some information about that at the end of the video again. The purpose of this build along is going to be to build a ProMod. And ProMod is referring to a class in the We Are Rock rules set, and that is the gap I'm trying to fill in my current stable of vehicles. Previously on the build along, we built the Moon Buggy, which you can see sitting above me over there. I did a full length video on that truck there using all of the fixtures and parts that I provided in the build along package to build that whole car. I just did it all in one long video to show you exactly what I did. Now, what we're building. This is going to be a ProMod, so two-wheel steer only, straight axle, front motor vehicle. We're going to be basing this off of a full-size vehicle called the Rockabilly, which was built by a guy named Johnny Roca, and I thought it was an amazing looking style to it. I really, really liked it. I followed the build as he completed it, and I wanted to kind of mimic that with this style. The VRD Builder's Kit is going to be the base, so it's going to be using a standard VFD, F10 straight axles, front and rear. We do need to swap over to a stubby kit in the front and a BTA steering setup, but for the most part, we're going to be able to use a lot of the rest of this. As far as provisions for other things like a VFD twin, portals, things like that, we'll get into some more details of that as we go. Now, what does the build along actually include? So I go through and I create the chassis in CAD, and I create all of these jigs and fixtures to make actual fabrication of the tube chassis as easy as possible, incorporating 3D printed templates to make sure that you've got your tube bent the right way, and then jigs that'll actually allow it to fit into place and zip tie down so everything is held properly where it needs to be, and you know that it's going to be straight and even, and every tube is going to line up exactly, so if other parts in the future are going to drop in, because I am just providing you with digital files only, 3D printable STL files that you can then create on your own home 3D printer and take to the workshop to create all of this. These parts give you all of the information needed to be able to build reliably a straight and true and well thought out tube chassis. Now, there are other things that you will need to purchase, such as some laser cut parts. Now, I work with Send Cut Send, and you're able to just go to the website, click the product that you want, have it cut, and it'll be sent directly to you. Makes it super easy. And that works for everybody in the US and Canada. But if you're international, we're actually working with Brazen Scale, and they'll have the parts available for you international customers. We didn't have a solution for that previously. This has turned out to be just the easiest way to get it handled for me. As far as international goes, the price of the actual laser cut parts is the same, but obviously there is going to be an additional shipping fee. If you're international and you have a local laser cutter and things like that, I'm sorry, I do not distribute the files to have them cut on your own. It's just not something that I offer. And at this point, that's not something that I'm looking to change. Now, as far as how we distribute everything, I use an app called Discord, which is just a popular app that people use a lot for, gaming chats and things like that. And it works perfect for what we're doing here. And it's a pretty simple platform to use. If you don't have Discord yet and you want to get ahead of it, it's best if you, pre-register for that, get yourself a username and all that set up. And then once you purchase the build along, I'll send you an invite to get you included in the private group. A huge part of the build alongs is all of the chatting that goes along during the build, helping each other out, giving a little bit more information or clarification, an extra file here or there, just to help keep everybody going. It's one of the best parts of the build along. You get a bunch of great people together who are super helpful, diving in, tackling hurdles together. We all learn something as we go, and that's one of the best parts about it. Now, it's called a build along because you're going to be building this with me. I do not have a vehicle yet to show you. I just have the idea, the computer drawings, and a knowledge that tells me that I'm going to be able to complete this. Now, I'm building this for an event that's in less than 3 weeks called Scale Hero down in the Phoenix area. And I've set the goal of getting it done for that event, which is quickly coming up. If you'd like more information on that, I'll put a link to it in the description below. But being that it is a build along, I don't know exactly how this is going to go. We could run into problems. I haven't built the chassis yet, so sometimes things might have to get changed or redone. We don't know. You're going to just follow along the process with me. We're going to chat during the process. We'll all find and figure out these struggles together. Now, I've done quite a bit of pre-work at this point. I've done most of the jig design and construction. So at this point, I just have to start diving into the fabrication and hope that it all goes well. And you guys will be right there with me because I'm announcing this only the day before the actual sale of this is starting. Now, if you're interested in diving into this, here are all of the tools that you're going to need. For the most part, I think I've got most of them covered at this point, but you're going to need a 3D printer. Just about any 3D printer will work. Any of the bamboo offerings, even the mini, I believe that all of the jigs will fit on without a problem. We're just using PLA filament. That's all you should use for these jigs. Don't use anything fancier. If you use anything fancier, it just wants to stick to the tubing more. Regular PLA is the absolute best for this application because if it gets a little hot and melty, it easily just peels off with your fingernail and you're ready to go. So basic PLA is all you need for the actual jig fabrication and templates that we're going to be diving into. From there, you're going to need a welder. And for this process, ideally, you're going to be looking at a TIG welder. Now, when I built this last buggy up here, I used the Yes Welder 205P Pro. That is a very inexpensive welder. I believe it's like $210 to get that. Now, that gives you the welder itself. You do need to get a argon bottle and a regulator. Argon bottle might be your biggest cost depending on what size you decide to go with. You can get a pretty small one and get through a chassis with it without probably having to go refill it. But depending on how, your learning goes and things like that, you may have to refill it once. But if you can get a larger bottle, you're going to be even better off. Next, you're going to need a tube bender. Previously, I didn't have an easy tube bender to offer you, but now I do have my own tube bender design that you can pick up through Send Cut Send when you get the laser cut parts for this project, and that ships to you quickly, and you're going to be able to have just an easy access to a tube bender. Tube benders were previously one of the hardest things to get to people. People were having to wait 3, 4, 6 weeks before finding, or receiving something that they ordered. So this solves that. It works great, and it's going to just handle everything that you need for this build. After that, you just need some of the basic tools, a way to cut tubing, whether that be a hacksaw or a Dremel, a cutoff wheel on a grinder of some sort. All of those are going to be perfectly functional. The bandsaw setup works the best in my opinion. Then you're going to need a way to notch the tubing. The cheapest and easiest way to do that is some 3/16 chainsaw files. I'll put a link to some tools, a link to all of these tools below so you can go and pick those up. I did that whole truck there with just one of those, just because it's like, hey, you don't need anything more than this. It works just fine. It actually even maybe works the best because you can kind of slowly work your way into a cope rather than using an overpowered option and going too far too fast. And then you'll also need some taps. 2.5, 3 millimeter taps. Those are the two sizes that you should get. Easy to find on Amazon. I have some ones that I prefer at this point that are spiral tap. They're cheap, easy, available like next day in many places. So those are the basics beyond just what you probably already have for our C tools laying around. Many of the guys in past build-alongs didn't have any of these tools when they jumped in to the actual build-along, and they just got them and ordered them and asked people's opinions in the private Discord server. once they joined and found exactly what they needed and then went from there. So if you don't have them yet, but you're willing to get what you need to complete this, still perfectly reasonable to dive in. For supplies to build it, you will need 3/16 tubing. We get that from Stock Car Steel, and I'll put a link to that below. They gave me a discount code previously. I'm going to put it below. I believe that it's still accurate. It should save you 15% off. For a buggy like this, I haven't built this one yet to confirm, but 12 feet usually does the job. I would recommend just get 20. Also for this one, we're going to be using some 1/8 inch solid rod for some of the smaller bracing pieces here and there. You can also get that from Stock Car Steel if you like, or usually you can pick that up at like Home Depot in one of those little rack setups. So that's kind of up to you. I highly recommend using silicon bronze filler wire rather than standard TIG filler wire. It melts at a lower temperature, flows a little easier. It just makes everything easier on a project like this. You can try TIG welding it like normal with regular like ER70 filler. It's going to be more difficult. With thin wall tubing, it's going to be more difficult. Take my advice. Just get some silicon bronze. I'll put a link to it as well, and it'll just make your life so much easier. Now, time for some disclaimers. This is a build along again. I haven't built it myself yet. I'm going to be working through it, finding out how I can get it done. So there's going to be hurdles, or there could be hurdles. Maybe it goes smoothly. I wouldn't always count on that though. Sometimes I'm going to have to change a design, do something new, and maybe you'll have to get some more laser cut parts or something like that. I don't know yet, because I don't know yet. You don't know what you don't know until you know. I don't know how that saying goes. Doesn't matter. So be prepared for that. And sometimes that's part of the fun. All of us working together to figure out the best new alternative to fixing whatever my initial idea was. Also, fabrication just sometimes isn't for everyone. This takes away so many hurdles. It makes things so much easier in so many cases, and I'm sure previous Build Along members will chime in and reassure you of that. But that doesn't also mean that just anybody can do it. You're gonna have to want to learn. You're gonna have to want to dive in and learn these things and practice and screw up. A lot of guys built one chassis and was like, that's not my best work. I'm gonna do it again. I'm just gonna build another one. And you can do that now. You learn how to build something, you build it better the next time. And just keep doing it. You build as many of them as you want. All I can do is share with you as much info as I can. That doesn't mean that I can make you be able to do it in all cases. And lastly, again, this is a limited access thing. I am expanding this over the last time. Last time I expected to not necessarily sell out all of the spots, and they ended up selling super quickly. So this time I've expanded it. I haven't doubled it, but I've expanded it. But I don't know how this is going to go. I don't know how quickly things will sell. And if they don't all sell out again, I'm going to give it 1 week before I close it. After a week, if there's any spots left, it's going to be closed off, and that'll be how many people we have. And then we're progressing like that from there. Hard stop. The sale of the build along will be done through my website, harleydesigns.com. I'm going to have a link to where the page will be below. That link won't work until the build along is live, which will be scheduled to go live at 10 a.m. Pacific time on Sunday, October 6th, 2024. Shouldn't be any confusion about that time. That's all I can do. If after the fact or things like that, I limit the number of spots because it's a lot of communication between people. I think that's a huge part of it, and I don't want to lose that small group feel. And I want to limit how much, when there's things that go wrong, the more people are, the worse I feel. So I'm trying not to make myself feel bad sometimes. After you purchase, there'll be some information that you fill out during the purchase, and that will go to me. I'll have that in your email address. If the Discord information I need from you is already in there, I'll get you invited to the private server. If it's not, we'll probably have to exchange some emails. Just allow me some time to get through all of the people. I'll go in order that they were purchased to actually figure out and get through this whole process. So again, allow me some time to get through all of that as we go. And depending on what day it is and how busy I am during those days, it may take a little bit of extra time. This is a very tedious process on my side. So try and understand that. If you know you're interested, you went in on this, get your Discord set up, your username, all that stuff set up ahead of time before the actual build along. That way you can plug it in on the website when you're checking out, and that will speed up how I can get you into the group. If the whole fabrication thing just isn't going to be for you, but you want to follow along more closely, the channel membership is the best way for that. During the build alongs is when I produce the most channel membership updates of what I'm doing, how I'm doing. Sometimes I've put out like long form videos about individual processes that I was going through, just like here's an uncut video of all of the carbon fiber work or something like that. That's something I will continue to do for channel members during this process. So again, if you're interested in that, always appreciate the channel membership stuff. It helps support the channel a lot. And if you become a member, you'll also see all of those old ones. So there, there's 40 some videos of channel member information. So dive into that if you'd like. But that covers what we're going to be doing. I've already got the first tests of the steel parts here in hand from Send Cut Send. These will be available very shortly for any of you who decide to join the build along. You'll see those added. You'll be able to dive in. Again, I never know how these are going to go, how the popularity of these projects is going to be, but the big thing with this is that I'm going to do a lot of this work for myself regardless, and it's just a lot more motivation, a lot more fun to be interactive with a group of people that are also doing it for something like this. So I hope that some of you are returning members of Build Alongs. I hope that a bunch of you are also new members so that you can also dive in. And I don't think that there's anything more rewarding than fabrication in our hobby. And if you are ready, or you just want another project, you just want to dive into something new, you haven't had, something that really scratched that itch in a while, I think that this can be a great fill for that. I hope to see a bunch of you on the Discord server as we get this rolling. I'm going to do a live stream for channel members on Sunday at 10 a.m. as this goes live, so you guys can experience with me as I see what the interest in this project actually turns out to be in the real time. So if you're interested in that channel membership stuff, again, all the information for this entire project, everything about it is available in the description below. I'm ready and I'm running out of time. So if you guys are here to enjoy it with me, hit the like button, subscribe if you're not already, channel membership, all that good stuff. Drop a comment why you're interested, why you're not interested. I get it. It takes a lot to dive into some of these, but I think that if you have the ability and you're ready to do it, I think you'll have an absolute blast. So with that, thanks as always for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.